You have a million minis to choose from. It's a fish cat. I think I'm gonna do this guy. Castle Arts watercolor pencils. I color a lot of Ninja Turtles. Right. So it's been a hot minute since I've painted. Apologies if that has bothered you at all. I got a Steam Deck for Christmas, and when I'm not doing that, been building a greenhouse. I spent a good amount of time sick and just could not get going again. I've got more excuses. If you guys want those, I can add them to the comments. But today, I'm gonna ease back into things. So if you're like me, you have a million minis to choose from, but maybe you're not like me, and maybe you have one mini that you want to paint really well, or maybe you want to practice painting without sacrificing a mini to your practice. Now, I think the best way to learn is to practice on a mini and just accept your failures or your wins. But sometimes I like to practice painting without paint or a paintbrush. And one of the ways I do that is I like to draw or color. So I'm gonna show you a little bit of an example using this cool book I found. So this is a coloring book of Lovecraft monsters. It could be better. Some of it is really cool. Some of it, I don't really understand how it's Lovecraft. They're just the monster part. Yeah, so I mean, there's varying degrees of quality, but I think it's a cool book, just the fact that it exists. A Lovecraft coloring book, who'd ever thought? There's probably a bunch of them now. So this was one of my favorites. I don't know what Lovecraft, if this is Lovecraft, what Lovecraft character it's maybe based on. I'm not sure. I'm thinking it's a fish cat, so it is very Lovecraft, but I'm not sure what it is. This guy was a really great practice in coloring contrast and understanding blending and that kind of thing, and putting color where it's supposed to be. And these coloring books are particularly good for this because a lot of times they have shading built into them. It kind of gives you a roadmap of where to put the color, and that translates to things like zenithal priming, right? If you wanted to come in with color, it'd be pretty easy to understand where the brightest and darkest spots should be because he's already got shading built in. And so you could practice those skills in a coloring book and translate those to your painting pretty easily. I think I'm going to do this guy. And the reason I picked him is because he has crosshatch shading, and that is what I'm used to. So when I'm going to do coloring, I try to think about painting still and how that's going to translate. So I have these. These are Castle Arts watercolor pencils. So they work wet and dry. So that's on the box. I color a lot of Ninja Turtles. So that's a thing. Yeah, so you can use these like a normal colored pencil, or you can come back. You can use them a few various ways with water to punch the colors. Let's pick out a couple colors for this guy. So we'll do a yellow ochre for his teeth. For his skin, his highs, we'll try scarlet red. Let's use those together. So we've got scarlet red and signal red. And then I'm just gonna grab one of these darker. So there's cadmium red. So we'll go with that. So that should get us on his body. Tentacly horn things, not quite that dark. Let's go with this purple lake deep. For his tongue, we're gonna go like super Iron Maiden with this. Let's go with this leaf green light. All right, so keeping up with the theme of thinking about coloring with a colored pencil as painting, we're gonna kind of go with the tried and true method. So let's imagine that we've already zenithaled our mini. So let's picture this guy as a 3D mini. We've already zenithal primed him, and that's why we're white and black, and that's why our highest spots are white. So we kind of did a zenithal prime from, let's say up here, right? Okay. Now we're going to come in with our base color, which is going to be our signal red. So just imagine we're coming in with our base coat now. I'm going to start small here. So let's just go off of this little panel here. So I'm going to go very light and in circular motions. That doesn't mean that's right. That's just how I do it. Yeah, think like Squidmar. He usually does kind of the more traditional style like this. Base coat, block in kind of thing. Now, one thing to remember that doesn't translate to miniature painting. When you're painting with watercolors or when you're using watercolor pencils, you typically have to work light to dark. So you can't punch the color up to white as easily. So my first layer is my base coat, and instead of it being a really bold base coat, I'm thinking about it as working light to dark, which you can absolutely do on a miniature. It's just a different technique. So we're going to work light to dark here. Now I've got my base coat in, and we're just going to go ahead and let's add the next layer. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to work in more color by adding a little more pressure and continuing to go over these spots. I'm just going to add a little more color. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over all the black areas and come out from those a little bit. So we'll go here. So again, just a little more pressure. You can also add some water to your point if you want to get a lot more color faster. I like going slow so that I can really work with the color. It's an advantage that you don't have with paint usually, is you can make a lot of mistakes with the colored pencil before you get it right, or before you mess it up, which means you can also make a lot of mistakes and still get it right. And I like that. There we go, a little more black. You can get a little more creative with these and go along the edges and kind of push that color a little more. And one of the things I'm trying to do here, I'm trying to get it a little fuzzy on the light, because light is usually not a direct beam, right? It's usually a soft edge, we'll say. And so I'm just pushing that soft edge up. Okay, so now I'm going to go very thin right here, and very, very thin right here. Okay, so there we go. So you could see we already have some contrast being built here. Now let's push that a little further. I'm going to go down a step in color to our scarlet red, and then I'm going to use this color as a map, just like we do with zenithal, but in reverse. Okay, so I'm going to use the darker color as a map to where to put the darker color, instead of the lighter colors as a map to use to where to put the lighter color. And I'm pushing that red further. See here. So come off that edge into the dark area just a little more, and let's put in some really bold reds. And again, I'm not a professional. This is just to grow your skill. I don't know what I'm doing. If you really wanted to get into colored pencil stuff, go check out our channel dedicated to that. This is really just through the lens of building our painting skill. If you're really worried about your picture, you can come back in with all the blacks and go over those with a black ink. There we go. All right, so you could see, in this particular piece, we have quite a bit of contrast. So I'm going to cut off the instructional part of the video right here. I hope that this was inspirational and maybe motivates you to think about the artistic skills that you have and how they might apply to painting, either to further your skill set or maybe even just open the door and realize that colored pencils and paint are just two different mediums of the same art style. Feel free to hang out as I finish this guy up, or go check out some other video on my channel or any other channel, or better yet, just go paint or color. Thanks for watching, guys.